Hold on for a second. What's up, YouTube family? I would like you guys to make sure you like and subscribe to our video. It would help us get into the algorithms so we can be seen and bring more engaging content to you guys. So like I said, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Appreciate you. Another edition of the Pick and Downs podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and P. Bush. How you fellas doing?
Doing well, man. Had a little bit of we know the July slow period, man. Yep. We always talk about it every year. Beautiful time of year now, though, Zoo, man. We got fantasy football mock drafts. I've been actually investigating a little bit of the best ball. Things on DraftKings daily sports book. Very interesting. It's
very different. It's very different. You cannot say best ball is similar to like redraft leagues at all. It's a completely different game.
Completely different. You can't make any waiver wire pickups. There's no determining of your lineup week in and week out. It's quite literally just drafting for the highest upside. That's kind of what you're going for. And drafting a lot of handcuffs could be an interesting play this year with all the elder running backs kind of starting to, get put out to pasture a little bit. Another interesting thing, I'm sure we'll talk about it in a couple of weeks, but you guys see Chase Brown starting to get some RB1 snaps over Zach Moss in Cincinnati. So, plays like that could be definitely affecting. And I think that's why we've tried to hold off on a little bit of the fantasy stuff and not start too early, just to ensure that training camp plays out. And eventually we'll see preseason starting this week.
Yep. Yeah, I'm thinking to myself, especially with the running back position, very fluid. It's very fluid. Guys get banged up naturally. So when it comes to drafting at that position, you got to be a little strategic and you got to kind of do a little future forecasting. And if you're able to do that, especially in my league, like a 14-man league, where if I hit on a running back, that's probably like off the radar, that might be the line in the sand of me making the playoffs and not making the playoffs. So right now, we're going to be talking about quarterbacks, starting with fantasy. And I kind of wanted to start the pod off, and I'm going to be starting off, each of the next couple of weeks with player comparisons. Quarterback position, as most know, it deals in the facet of if you got a guy who's, an elite thrower and an elite runner, that can shift the livelihood of your fantasy life. Like it could put you in a position where you kind of just, if you have some underperforming running backs or some underperforming receivers, if you got a quarterback that's putting up 30 to 35, you can kind of maybe come out victorious every week. So I wanted to start off with this player comparison. Both of these guys, and I'm going to do a player comparison later on in the pod, but both of these guys are kind of like, I wouldn't say stiffs in the backfield, but they're not like let's just go ahead and call it what it is, Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen. So I want to go with these two guys. Let me see if I can pull my notes up where they're at. All right, here they are. One coming off injury, Joe Burrow. Plays for the Cincinnati Bengals. And then the other guy we have, CJ Stroud. If two are on the board, we're not talking about positioning. We're not talking about where like one's in the second, third, fourth. If both are on the board and you need a quarterback, obviously it'd be a QB1. Which guy are you going with, Joe Burrow or CJ Stroud? And P. Bush, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, man, that's a hard pick. I mean, because you were just talking about historical data right before we jumped on. And, if you look back at a couple quarterbacks that have had great rookie years, they did slow down a little bit going into their second year. I think the only guy we can really point to that started hot and pretty much maintained his consistency is actually Justin Herbert. I mean, he came in after that Tyrod Taylor botched medical attention, if you guys remember, and he just kind of took the reins and went from there. So I'm looking at Stroud a little bit, and I'm wondering, I know, they added Stephon Diggs. They have Dalton Schultz, Tank Dell, obviously Nico Collins as well. They bring in Joe Mixon from the Bengals, Cincinnati, which we know Burrow plays for. Is he going to have a little bit of a sophomore slump? I think that's really what it comes down to. Is he truly going to put up those numbers? I mean, Zoo, you might remember, how many picks did he have last year? Wasn't it sub 7?
Yeah, it was single digit. It was single digit.
It was single digit, and he put up like 40 touchdowns or something like that. I mean, that is one of the greatest rookie, if not the greatest rookie quarterback performances we've ever seen in a regular season. And then you look over at Joe, and you could argue that his injury issues could end up being the problem. I mean, they did try and shore up their offensive line a little bit. Their running back room is definitely jumbled, like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. And you're looking at T. Higgins, who has been disgruntled since I feel like he entered the league. Jamar Chase, we know what Jamar Chase is. I did like their Jermaine Burton draft pick too, as kind of their wide receiver 3 to fill in for the Tyler Boyd departure. But I think I got to go upside here. I think I have to draft C.J. Stroud. I would say that they're
have to, huh?
I think I got to. I think you have to. I just am more concerned with Joe Burrow's health and their offensive line issues than I am with C.J. Stroud completely slumping and falling off in a division that, sure, when healthy, is going to be a little bit better than we saw last year with Anthony Richardson playing fully healthy. We'll see how Will Levis looks. Trevor Lawrence kind of getting a reset a little bit, but maybe getting rid of that Calvin Ridley asterisk that they had last year and starting over fresh with Brian Thomas Jr. and bringing back Christian Kirk. I just think he'll have more opportunities to pop off against those defenses than the ones he has to face, speaking on Joe Burrow, in the NFC or AFC North.
Yeah,
so I just think the volume is going to be there. And who knows if Joe Mixon is truly going to be a bell cow back down in Houston and eat up more carries, because Singletary did fine last year. He actually had a great year down in Houston and got him his contract up in New York, and CJ Stroud still kept going. So I'm going to lean Stroud here, Zoo. I think him adding Stephon is going to do exactly what Stephon did for Josh Allen. He's going to continue solidifying CJ Stroud's game, man.
All I got to say is, you got to put this into perspective, though. CJ Stroud's ADP right now is around the 40s, mid-40s.
Yep.
While Joey B is more in the 60s.
Sure.
So there is a significant round difference. So you're obviously giving up skilled position players if you're taking a CJ Stroud right now, because he is going a lot higher than I thought.
Yes.
I like CJ Stroud a lot. He had a great rookie year. He had 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. You expect that potential jump next year, obviously with the additional weapons.
Yeah,
but you got to put that in perspective with the ADP right now, because CJ Stroud, there's a lot of MVP hype. Like, I feel like there's too much hype for CJ Stroud, man. People got to chill with CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
All I got to say is right now, CJ Stroud at his ADP, I'm getting 0 shares of CJ Stroud.
Wow.
In the 40s and 50s, I'm not touching CJ Stroud, because one thing about fantasy quarterbacks, Sean, you know this perfectly. Rushing ability. He's got none. I'm sorry. I love CJ Stroud as a thrower. He gives you 0 rushing upside. If you're taking a guy in the top 50s, I want a guy that has number 1 overall ability. And the only way to be number 1 overall ability as the quarterback position, you got to be a Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning-esque, where you're just throwing for 40-plus, 50-plus passing touchdowns. That is the only way. So if CJ Stroud could do that, okay, then he has that upside. But I don't think he's at that level of being, I would say, a transcendent passer of the football right now, especially at this age of his career, right? This guy's in his 2nd year, and I can't put that heavy of expectations on him. So based on ADP, I know, the thing with Joe Burrow is the injuries.
Yep.
He's a Band-Aid. He's just a Band-Aid. Even right now in the preseason, he's a little knick-knacked up already. I'm just every single season, he just doesn't seem to come into even the season healthy. Yeah. Last year, he had the lower body extremity that limited him as far as the ability to throw the football. And now this year, he's coming with another injury. So Joey B's injury history right now, this is a trend now. This is an absolute trend. This guy's injury prone. It sucks because I love watching him play, and he's a significant guy in his offense, but he's definitely a Band-Aid, and there are some red flags. T. Higgins. Is he happy? He didn't get paid?
No, he's not.
He ain't happy. Jamar Chase, did he get his bag yet? I don't think so. No. So there are some rumblings in the Bengals that's injury this, money there. So these are factors that can impact, especially on the offensive end. Jamar Chase wants that that Justin Jefferson money.
Yeah, he does.
He wants that. You see his buddy.
He should get it, so I don't know what the Bengals are doing.
Yeah, they're in the same, I would say in the same tier caliber of football player, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. So, he wants his $35 million for multi-years. So, there's some rumblings out there. But if I had to draft a guy at their current ADP, I'm taking Joe Burrow, because this guy's just been, the injuries do worry me. They do.
Yeah. Because that's your starting quarterback, and so you're taking him in the 6th round.
But that's the thing. That's the thing about quarterback. Quarterback is a deep position. Get some insurance.
True.
I could get a Caleb Williams, but it's a free pick.
Jaden Daniels.
I know this guy sucked last year. Trevor Lawrence is one of the last picks. Like you get a Justin Herbert. So if you get a Joe Burrows, you need insurance in the hundreds. That's the one caveat I got to put there. You need insurance.
But Zoo, he's gonna the volume that CJ Stroud's gonna have could make up for the difference in you. All right, I'm not comparing CJ Stroud to Josh Allen. Fantasy.
You can't. That's the thing. That's the benchmark.
However, Zoo, and you were talking about we've joked about the upside with 12 rushing touchdowns Vegas has over under give or take around 11 for Josh Allen. Is he going to be throwing for 4,500 yards this year?
My
point is that you're talking about rushing. I agree.
Yeah.
But the point differential is really all that matters in the end of the day. And the volume that CJ Stroud has in the passing game, he could easily throw for 5,000 yards this year. I don't think if he stays healthy, he could throw for 5,000 yards this year.
5,000.
And even if Josh Allen's throwing for 3,800, I mean, we know he's got Curtis Samuel and Keon Coleman. He's got Kincaid, but Kincaid's not putting up 130 yards a game. I doubt it. He's not Travis Kelce. So, I guess my point is, I think we're not comparing to the rushing quarterbacks, but I think the volume that Stroud has, it makes up for that 15 to 20 pick difference in ADP between him and Burrow. Because I think Burrow's, if you were to expected value his injuries, Zoo, and affect his fantasy projections, I think it would be a pretty comparable value there. And you can still get a good positional player flipping into the 5th round and 4th. I think it depends on where you are in the draft too. If it's end of the 4th round, I think I'm more enticed to take a CJ Stroud than if I'm already on the 3rd going into 4th round turn. So I don't know. The Burrow one scares me, man. I've never drafted him. And I feel like everyone that has drafted him has ended up losing out on it.
I was leaning Burrow though, because just like his upside of I think what Zoo was talking about his draft position, his upside could be he could turn into a top maybe 4 or 5 quarterback just off of volume. I'm assuming that Jamar Chase is going to get his bag and T. Higgins will just play, up to his standard. And then I really like Burton, to your point, P. Bush. But now I totally kind of forgot about his division. And it's those games later in the season where he's going against, maybe he has a Ravens Browns consecutive week back to back.
Pittsburgh's got a good defense too.
That's going to be tough. And then it's CJ. Another thing with CJ Stroud too, where I switch it from Burrow to Stroud is, even though he might be going against the division might be better, a lot of those places he'll be playing in are good weather conditions. He'll be in a dome in Indianapolis. He'll be in, Tennessee, which could have maybe some weather. It's Houston at home. And Jacksonville. It's a lot of warm weather places. So it's maybe later in the season he's able to turn it on. But it's a slight edge to CJ. But yeah, I kind of figured this would be kind of a good comparison because I was thinking of 2 other guys who are just the hype of CJ, because to Zoo's point, it is getting a little out of control with CJ.
It's a little out of control.
Let's kind of relax. Great quarterback, and he's gonna do well this year. But I don't want to hear no MVP, and I don't want to hear no he's maybe on the precipice of taking a trajectory of a Mahomes or something like that. Let's slow down. We gotta slow down. He's got to win first, and he's got to figure out who he's gonna get the ball to too. That's why we're gonna talk about receivers way down the road. But I'm very scared of anybody with the Texans because I just don't know who to trust. I'll scroll my Instagram feed and I'll see one reel on Nico Collins making a crazy catch, and Stephon making a crazy catch, and then Take Dale doing a route. It's I don't know who to trust. So I just figured that would be a good back and forth. But so going to our second segment, I kind of want to get on to the trending up and trending down in terms of quarterbacks. Now, this doesn't have to necessarily be a QB1, QB2, but who are some quarterbacks that you are trending higher on, and who are some quarterbacks that you're trending lower on? And we can start with higher, and Zoo, get the first crack at it.
Oh, man, this is one of this guy's ADP is just ripe for perfection. I think we forgot how good this guy was because of injuries. Kylar Murray. Kyler Murray is going at the quarterback position. He's going off number 10. So 9 quarterbacks currently are going in front of this guy. And this guy fits the prototype of a potential number 1 overall capabilities right here. Yep. Yeah.
From Kyler?
Yes. Kyler Murray. We forgot how good this guy was because of injuries last year. But I'm talking about number 1 overall ability. Obviously, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are, I would say, transcendent quarterbacks.
Hurts.
So no, I'm not putting Hurts in there. They got some shenanigans with the head coach. I'm a little lower. I'm a little lower on Hurts than last year, but definitely Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. That is the cream of the crop right there. But Kyler Murray, if you look at his historical points per game as a quarterback in his entire fantasy career, this guy's been averaging 20 points a game for his entire fantasy career, and that's with injury years. So you got to factor in years where he's not been 100%. and this guy has a per game average of 20 points a game. The only other quarterbacks playing right now, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Like you're looking like he is an elite company right now on a per game average. And Lamar Jackson. I forgot about Lamar Jackson. So
Lamar. Yeah.
He is in that category of when he is healthy and when he starts, he's a bona fide 20 points easy every single game he plays right now. And I think the thing we're discounting him is just we just forgot because of injuries. That is the only reason people are forgetting about Kyler Murray. And if you're looking about the weapons that this guy has got, he got a first-round draft pick in Marvin Harrison Jr., where people are having ridiculous – like I've never seen so much hype for a rookie wide receiver in the last decade, especially in fantasy football.
Yeah, since Calvin Johnson.
People think this guy is the second coming. Like people expect this guy to get 1,200 yards his first season and getting double-digit touchdowns because that's where he's going in fantasy football drafts right now. He's going second, third round draft pick right now. So you got that elite wide receiver one to help Kyler Murray out. You got Trey McBride, who last year came on extremely strong. We're like, oh, who's
PPR monster.
Yeah, he was a second-year breakout. I never heard of him. I don't know if you guys heard of Trey McBride. I only started hearing about him when, this guy's the alpha in this Cardinals offense right now, and Kyler Murray really feeding him the football right now. So I feel like this Cardinals team offensively is a little underrated. And, I like my man James Conner, even though that dude's old. So I feel like this is a low-key offensive team that's going to be extremely productive. And Kyler Murray being healthy coming in this season with his offensive weapons, I feel like, low-key, this is going to be a sneaky good offense this year. And Kyler Murray, as you know, his rushing ability is also elite. I think he's up there with Lamar Jackson, too.
That's the issue I have, Zoo, is I think the expectations of him getting back to the athleticism level that he was at.
Oh, he can still scramble.
He can still scramble, of course, but do you also think that because of all the injuries and now that they have pieces in a division that outside of the Niners is kind of open? I mean, the Rams have somehow turned things around pretty quickly from their rebuild, right? The Seahawks with Geno Smith, not really sure where they're at this year. They could be fighting for a wild card spot in the NFC this year. Not easily, but they could be in the hunt, to your point, if they stay healthy, Zoo. And I love their weapons. I'm buying both Trey McBride stock, I'm buying MHJ stock. Yeah. But the value of Kyler, I agree. I think if you can get him later in the
hundreds, 90s or hundreds,
I don't know if I would take him as my guaranteed QB1. That's the only person I'm drafting. I think that's the only thing I'm considering there is if he gets hurt. And also, I wouldn't bank purely on his rushing ability because, one, they punch it in with James Conner. We all know that, right? So his rushing touchdowns aren't going to be there. And is the coaching going to kind of try and hold him back a little bit from scrambling because they don't want him getting injured? And they do have the pieces to start winning. So that's the only thing I'm considering with Kyler.
Kyler Murray.
But I like the pick. I mean, he's what you say, QB11, Zoo?
QB10 right now.
QB10? I mean, we'll talk about overvalued guys or trending. I don't like Sean, you said trending downwards. I don't think I would consider some of these guys trending down. But my trending up, man, I think there's heavy value in, once again, I think I said it last year too, Jared Goff, man. I mean, he's middle of the pack. He's middle of the pack.
Well, not as a starter, but I mean, as a backup, I ain't mad at it.
If you take, let's say you make a reach on a Jaden Daniels, let's say, and you also take Jared Goff, I think that's a very safe backup guy to keep having on your bench, man. He threw 38 touchdowns last year, something like that.
I think he had single-digit interceptions too, I think.
Yeah, he had single-digit. No, he actually – no, because remember, Sean, he did throw 4 picks against the Bears in a week last year.
Oh, yeah, he did.
But Jared Goff, I mean, he threw 4,600 yards, 68% completion percentage, 30 touchdowns, 12 picks. I think if you're not wanting to reach on one of these younger guys like Anthony Richardson, who playing 4 games and they have him at QB8, Jaden Daniels, rookie, you're taking a risk. If you're not getting one of those top 3 or 4 or 5 guys that we've talked about, and you want to just draft pure positional players, Jared Goff, man, I mean, you got Jamison Williams in a contract year. He's got to prove himself. Amon-Ra St. Brown, you got Sam Laporta coming back. They have probably the best 2-headed duo in the running back room in the league in Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. This team is primed and ready to win, and they haven't changed much. So I think if he can shore up his interceptions a little bit, this guy's going to eat. I mean, he's been a consistent fantasy backup quarterback, but if you need him in a streaming purpose, he is the perfect guy if you want to draft a rookie like Caleb, Jaden Daniels,
a rookie,
and then you also keep Jared Goff as kind of your consistent guy. You don't have to spend too much draft capital to get him. So Kyler Murray, yeah, he's for sure the upside play.
You want upside though. Like I don't want to come in third in fantasy football. I don't want to come in fifth place.
No,
We're about winning, but Jared Goff ain't gonna help you win.
No. But you could say you could take Kyler Murray and then you draft Jared Goff to back him up in case Kyler Murray gets injured, and Goff will be able to come in and you will not be scrambling with Drake May or Daniel Jones when you have to go off the waiver wire towards the
especially in a 14-team league. I like people's strategy because quarterbacks get taken off the board like really quickly, and there's the waiver wire is trash with quarterbacks on 14 teams, even though that's
absolutely not. So sure, I would say this is probably more of a 12 to 14 team league suggestion, more so than an 8 to 10. I think at 8 to 10, you're not even going to be touching. But Jared Goff, man, he's been consistent. You could argue that he's probably been one of the more consistent quarterbacks for fantasy in the last 2 years. Not huge upside, but he doesn't have horrible games either. He's just a solid quarterback that is – I still think he's slightly undervalued. I think they have him at QB 16, I think I saw.
Yeah, you're getting him for free.
You're getting him for free.
You're getting him for free.
You're getting him for free in one of the best offenses in the league. And I think that's to me, that's a huge upside. And Zoo, let's also be honest, man. Besides MHJ, who else do the Cardinals really have to throw the ball to?
I'm trying to think of another Cardinals receiver.
We talked about Trey McBride, sure. But Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to get a lot of attention, and he's playing at a different level. I'm not saying he's going to bust. I think he's a little overvalued, Zoo, where he's going in draft.
Yeah, I don't agree. Yeah, when you said second, third round, I was like, maybe
that's where he's
third,
going.
Fourth.
That's where he's going. That's where he's going right now.
That's where he's going right now.
That is so high.
Yeah, he's going way too high.
So Jared Goff, yeah, man. I otherwise, because it's hard for me to prove someone that's extremely undervalued. I do think the Kyler pick was good, but I don't think there's that many undervalued quarterbacks. Maybe Kirk Cousins, but once again, you're taking the risk on the Achilles injury.
Same thing with Kyler in terms of his injury history, but Kyler is a little bit more riskier because he actually runs. Kurt will probably just fall in the pocket if he gets hurt. But
exactly. He's going to turn into Tom Brady.
I'm kind of on the same track with what P. Bush is doing in terms of like this is strictly an insurance play, and it's the I can't quit the narcotic. It's with Deshaun. Like I think if you could get him as a QB2 late in the draft,
no, you can.
I'm not mad at that. If you could get him as your QB2, now if you're thinking you're going to be able to draft a bunch of position players and then put Deshaun Watson as your QB1, that's asking for a lot. But if you can somehow, get whoever your QB1 is going to be, and then get Deshaun and just stash him on the bench, and then he starts balling out, you can use him as quarterback injuries happen. Exactly. Quarterback injuries happen, and now you have a nice chess piece that can use later on in your fantasy league, and it could shift your series to where, your season to where maybe you're 4-5 and you're fighting for a playoff spot. And it's like, if you got Deshaun Watson on your bench, maybe you can get a flex guy or, maybe an RB2 or something, maybe not RB2, but like something that is a player of value that you can get. And I think with Deshaun having Njoku back, Mari Cooper's is number one. Nick Chubb is, I think, going to be the key because if Nick Chubb can come back healthy, I think it'll be a nice balanced attack. So I'm pretty sure that's
Jerry
what
Jeudy.
The Browns want to do. Yeah, Jerry Jeudy. And I saw a little clip online. It was on Twitter, but it was a guy, I think Landers. I think he was I don't know if he went to Miami or if he went to Georgia, but he like a nice little 6'5", 6'6" receiver. They got a little speed. So, I'm never going to, put my eggs all my eggs in one basket and look at, a rookie receiver that maybe went in the 4th or 5th round. But that's just another option. So I like him as a QB2 and somebody who can be a nice insurance option because, like I said, I think he can regain some of his form. But, that's just a guy I'm trending up. And let me go ahead and knock out my, I guess, a guy who I'm undervaluing or not valuing as much. I don't know where I sit with Justin Herbert because of Jim Harbaugh on the offense. I'm not sure if they're going to be a run-first team, if they're going to be a play action, run on first, second, third down, maybe play action on a 4th down and 4. I don't know. I don't know what their philosophy is going to be. I do know what Harbaugh is. I know he's a guy who loves to run the ball. Right. Yeah. And if you're just looking at trends, he got the huge tackle from Notre Dame. They loaded up in the running backs. If you're reading reports, Quentin Johnston's not doing well. So you mean to tell me Ladd McConkey is maybe going to be their number one receiver? I don't like that because Ladd McConkey is probably going to be really good, but number one receiver type good? I don't know. So now it makes me look at Justin Herbert like this is nothing against his talent, but I just don't know if it's going to be more of a 20-17, 17-13 type scores that are going to end up being maybe in favor of the Chargers winning those games or losing those games. But I don't know if Herbert's going to be just airing it out over the field because I just don't like what I've been seeing and hearing from, camp, and just looking at Harbaugh, man, he's never had any of his quarterbacks. Like Colin Kaepernick, I know bursted onto the scene, but if you looked at his history of quarterbacks from NFL to college, it's always been ground and pound, and the quarterback manages the game. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Maybe it's different in the NFL because the NFL is a quarterback league, and you may have the owner saying, like, look, I can't have Justin Herbert throwing for 175 yards a game. But Harbaugh, I think, got a lot of control with that offense and that team. So I'm a little nervous taking him. It's like I don't know what his ADP is, but like, I wouldn't overdraft for him for sure.
So just so you know, I mean, Justin Herbert, he's actually QB 16 behind Jared.
Yeah,
Goff.
He's free.
He's pretty much free as well.
Maybe
I was right.
Yeah, so I mean, you could argue once again he kind of falls into that same category as the Staffords, Goff, Kirk Cousins, where you're kind of like, hey, these guys could end up putting up numbers. Maybe Herbert's on the low end of that, but just because of the situation.
Has he ever been that low?
What do you say?
No.
Yeah,
Justin Herbert.
I feel like he's been
in his rookie year. He averaged 22 points a game at the quarterback position, which is top 3. Like that is elite. That is like that might be number 1 in some years. So Justin
he's
Herbert,
an elite. They just don't have the weapons and they don't have the system for him right now. I mean, but who knows? They can end up being a great passing team. I mean, their play action could end up being impeccable. I mean, it's very possible. They just need
big
someone to.
Plays.
They
won't be going to Quentin Johnson, though. I tell you that.
No, definitely not.
Well, here's the thing. The only thing I think they are switching Quentin Johnson into the slot, which is his normal positioning.
He still got to catch. Still got to catch the football.
But that's the thing, Zoo. He can't catch over the shoulder. That's
embarrassing.
Issue.
That's embarrassing. That tape was embarrassing. I'm like, this guy's
embarrassing.
First round.
He's more of a slant guy. He's more of he's not the caliber, but he prefers to run like Devontae Adams type routes in the middle of the field. That kind of receiver. Michael Pittman has actually been more of an example of like how he plays. But besides the point, they're kind of screwed in their wide receiver room. Looking at ADP, man. I mean, you guys were both pretty high on this guy last year, but at QB6, they got Anthony Richardson, man. And I know he's got the rushing upside.
Wait and see. Yeah, I'm not mad at that.
I'm not mad at it, but I'm also a little hesitant to go all in on Anthony Richardson this year. I mean, they have Jonathan Taylor. We know how good he can be. Michael Pittman's solid. They got Adonai Mitchell. Josh Downs is coming back for his second year as well. Another solid young receiver that they got. I actually really like Jelani Woods, their young tight end that they have, for more so for dynasty purposes, and we won't really talk about that. But I just think his play style, Zoo, and I'm not equating him to Kylar Murray or anything like that, but he has injury issues and concerns as well. I mean, he plays uber aggressive. Once again, is the coaching staff going to try and tell him to hold it back a little bit this year, kind of like they did with Jalen Hurts? And really just started using him for the tush pushes, man, those 1 yard ones, but not asking him to kind of do what the Bears had Justin Fields doing, which was just running the ball left, right, and center. So, at QB6, I mean, they have him ahead of Joe Burrow. Yeah. They had him ahead of Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott.
I like Dak this year. Yeah.
Dak's pretty good. So I just think Anthony Richardson, I think he belongs a couple positions back. I'd actually put him similarly with Kyler Murray, Zoo, high ceiling, but a high risk as well because of the injuries. And also just, he's still learning the game. He's only played 4 games last season. Don't equate this to Kyrie Irving coming out of Duke, man, only playing 10 games, and he's going to be the first overall pick and unbelievable when he comes into the league. Him coming into his second year after only playing 4 games is a bit of concern for me. So I just think he's a little bit overvalued at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with you on Anthony Richardson because this guy's played less than 4 games. I believe he played like 2 games.
Three games, and he got hurt in the 4th.
Yeah, he hasn't completed 3 entire NFL games, and he's going around C.J. Stroud, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, around that tier right there. Yep. So I totally agree with you. I love Anthony Richardson, but that dude was going 10th, 11th, 12th round last year. So I'm like, the value's all gone. Like the secret's out. This guy is a insane athlete, and he's able to get rushing touchdowns, and rushing equals maybe QB1 overall. So people are drafting for the upside, but I will not be that person drafting Anthony Richardson in the 50s right now. For me, hates me to say this right now, man, but a guy that's going at this ADP, this guy's been historically the last 2 years been really, really good, but I can't take him this year.
I know.
It's Jalen Hurts, man. I can't take Jalen Hurts this high because they still put him, I would say, in the same category as Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts. Yeah. Exactly. So they're in that 3 QB1 tier. That's still like the QB1 tier. And if you get Josh Allen like 2 picks ahead of Jalen, like they're not that close. Josh Allen is one of the most ridiculous fantasy quarterbacks I've ever seen in my entire life. Last year, QB1. Year before, QB2. Year before, QB1. Year before, QB1. This guy has like a monopoly at the quarterback position.
Yep.
Like it's actually like it's hard to even value this guy because dude's putting up 23 to 25 points per game at his average. And I like Jalen Hurts a lot when he was a low-key pick in the sixth to ninth rounds, and I knew they had that upside. But they're building him in to getting at least 22 per game. And he lost Kelsey as a center, and I think that's a huge loss right there because like that really helps the tush-push game. So I don't know if Jalen Hurts could do that again without his center.
Cam Jurgens.
Remember that's all I got. I'm not sure. And
remember him.
Like without his center, like you draft Jalen Hurts not because of the throwing, you get it for the rushing tutties. And this guy is extremely good at doing the tush push. And I feel like this year is not going to be as effective without the center. So that's going to be a lot of fantasy points because in the air last year, I watched a lot of like the Eagles game. He was not that impressive last year. Like he struggled a lot more than I thought because the year before in the Super Bowl he was transcendent. So I thought he made that step, but the year after I wasn't that impressed. He just got a bunch of easy rushing tutties because of their scheme. So Jalen Hurts in that category because I think Patrick Mahomes this year is an ultimate bounce back candidate because last year he was god awful. He was god awful.
Horrible.
Like, he averaged 17 fantasy points a game. 17 fantasy points. That's the worst in his career as a starter. Because if you like Patrick Mahomes also historically, this guy averages 22 points a game at the quarterback position, consensus top 5, and has been QB1 multiple times in the last 6 years.
It's him and Josh, yeah.
Exactly. So pretty much him and Josh are dominating the QB position that this era, like that on the field right now, is translating to fantasy football. Those guys are two best fantasy quarterbacks and two best real life quarterbacks. So in that category, and if you draft Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and if Jalen Hurts is in the same round, you're the loser. You got the worst out of those three. And if I'm going to get one of them, I got to get one of those two. So
that's when you hold off Zoo and go for Kyler.
And then I'll just punt the position. Like if I don't get Josh, if I don't get Patrick, okay, I'll wait a little. I'll get a Dak. I'll get a Dak Prescott later on.
Dak is the fourth quarter magician that we all love. Yeah, Dak is
garbage time.
A guy that you put him. If you look around and get a Dak, maybe he falls a little bit. Like you'll be putting him as your starter soon. But I'm a little, not Josh or Jalen, but like you brought up Patrick Mahomes. Like he's to me making me a little nervous because I wonder if he starts turning into like a spread it all around game manager type. Like, I don't think we're going to be getting a 45-50 touchdown Patrick Mahomes. Like,
no,
I don't think that's coming back. And to your point, Zoo, like if he's in the 30 to 31 touchdowns and he's not rushing, I don't know.
That's Jared Goff.
Okay, don't disrespect Patrick Mahomes like that.
Like, I don't think you think
numbers wise.
Like, what would Patrick have to throw for TD wise to be justified to what you're talking about? What he needs to be drafted?
Yeah,
what is
I need 40 touchdowns. I need 40 passing touchdowns.
With a legit running game, I mean, they have Pacheco.
Okay.
Look at how they played. And I know that was just the playoffs. He's just trying to win in advance. But, like, I think a little bit more of, like, when they played against the Ravens, a lot of rushing and, like, third down conversions. There wasn't a lot of – I mean, they had that one moonshot, the Valdez Scantling or whatever. But, like, I feel like Patrick Mahomes, especially with how – the offense is like Kelsey's getting older. Pacheco's going to be more of a featured back. I know they got Xavier Worthy and everybody's getting, like, I mean, I'm seeing Xavier Worthy like, he's going to be maybe challenging other rookies of receivers is like being the best rookie receiver in the class because that's Mahomes, which could be a possibility, but it's like you got to still see that play out. But Mahomes is, like you said, he's going to have to be in the 40 to 45 touchdown range. And that's a lot of touchdowns. And I don't know if it's not saying, I mean, he's still the best quarterback in the league, but it's like, is he going to get that? Like, I think there might be more chances for Isaiah Pacheco or maybe like other guys to score, and it may take away from Patrick. But I do agree with you on like the Hurts factor because I know I just said Cam Jurgens. Like the thing about him is centers never really bust. So it's like he's been a good guard. And I think being under Kelsey's tutelage, like he's not going to be the tush-push master of him, but he might be somewhere close. with Jalen Hurts, the only thing that scares me is maybe they feature Saquon a little bit more and he gets those touchdowns instead because they want to preserve his health. So it's like I can kind of see why Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen shouldn't be on that same tier. But it's funny. I got a Jalen Hurts and Anthony Richardson in my 8-man league, and it's a 3-keeper, like a 3-man keeper in that one. So I'm trying to decide which one I'm going to keep. It's probably going to be Hurts because it's just I'm comfortable with him. But it's going to piss me off, bro, if like I put Anthony on that waiver wire and then he gets drafted and he just goes off. So it's almost making me wonder, like, maybe I should just keep both and just draft really well. But yeah, I don't know. I do think Josh Allen is just kind of like, it's really just at his tier. Like, I don't even know if it's Patrick's in that either.
I don't even
think
think
Josh
Patrick
Allen
Mahomes
tier
is
and then
in
this
that tier.
other. Yeah, I think it's kind of just Josh Allen because he's the facts. And this year more than ever, I mean,
he's gonna be happy
in terms of rushing touchdowns, like I don't know who his receiver is going to be, but like he's just going to have a lot of opportunities to get a lot of rushing touchdowns and run for first downs. Like, you know, I just think he's kind of in a little bit of a tier by himself.
Yes.
But I want to. He had something else to say.
Yeah, especially with a small guy like James Cook, like he ain't a goal line back. They didn't like sign like a Derrick Henry who's going to take away touches them at the goal line. Like Josh Allen is the goal line back, so you can't see any other quarterback in the league outside of Anthony Richardson is like a goal line type.
Even Anthony Richardson isn't fully guaranteed. I mean, Taylor can punch it in.
For sure.
Jonathan Taylor, another guy I forgot about. But we kind of mentioned him earlier. We're going to wrap it up with this last quarterback comparison. Drew had brought him up. Kylar Murray, coming off of, I think he came back last year, but coming off an injury. And these are running quarterbacks. But Kylar Murray versus Lamar Jackson, both on the board. Who are you trying to take?
Whew. You go first.
Man, that's an interesting comparison. Obviously, both elite runners, and I still remember that Lamar Jackson MVP year when he averaged 28 fantasy points a game. And that is the most absurd season I've seen in like the history of fantasy football. Because legit, if you had Lamar Jackson, you made it to the finals. Like it was a one-man show. It's like that upside of elite running and passing that year was something special.
That's why you took him last year, Zoo, right?
Yeah, that's why I took him last year. And he was like if I look at his overall, he averaged like 20 points a game, like pretty solid. But man, he had those weeks where he just had no rushing touchdowns, and then he just. The problem with Lamar Jackson is he just doesn't throw that many passing touchdowns. And if you got a goal line guy, that's the thing. Derrick Henry at the goal line, I'm out on Lamar Jackson. I need those rushing touchdowns because last year it was very, very similar because when they're at the goal line, they didn't like sometimes Lamar does a little fake to the running back and he sneaks it himself, but they don't really like using Lamar as the goal line back because they had the Gus boss last year who had double-digit touchdowns. And this is an offense that utilized their rush, like their running backs a lot. There's a reason they got Derrick Henry. There's a reason they're going to use them at the goal.
Keaton Mitchell's still hurt.
Yeah, Keaton Mitchell actually showed a little thing last year, but mainly you got King Henry. Lamar Jackson ain't getting that many rushing touchdowns, and that makes me extremely nervous. And Lamar Jackson is still his ADP is in like the 30s and 40s, so he's still going relatively high. He's going QB4 right now, and if I get Lamar this year, I want ability to get 22, 24 points a game.
You could get both. You could get both. If you're telling me that's where Kyler Murray's getting drafted, like you could sneak around and get both.
Yeah, you might get both, but Lamar Jackson, I don't see him on a lot of any of my teams this year based on his ADP, just because of the King Henry factor.
And you know what's funny, Zoo? He actually finally has more weapons. I mean, Zay Flowers coming in for his second year. They're actually pretty high on Rashad Bateman this year. They say he's looking really good.
Wait and see.
I don't know.
I'm drafting him in the last 2 years. I'm out. Yeah.
And then we can't deny Mark Andrews. I actually really like Devontae Walker, their rookie that they drafted. And then not only that, they actually have a stud running back now. You know, we've talked about Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. They're
the offense. I am very bullish on the offense this year. Like last year, they were an elite offense, and you got King Henry. King Henry is ridiculous.
But Zoo, to your point, I know we were talking about this earlier, Sean, but I know Zoo really likes Deebo Samuel this year, man. But we could equate this a little bit to that he went from having no weapons to now he has a little too many where he has to spread the ball around, right? There's going to be people taking away his rushing touchdowns, to your point, Zoo. A little similar to the Niners and drafting those positional players or Brock Purdy. He's never really going to have those huge plays, right? Lamar Jackson doesn't really have deep balls for 70-yard touchdowns.
He gets the occasional Zay Flower bomb. The occasional.
And let's be honest, Zay's probably going to be caught up to anyways. And, I know he's a fast guy, but they're not going for Tyreek Hill bombs like we saw the Mahomes seasons when he did put up 40-plus touchdowns. That's what he had, Zoo. So I'm actually going to lean Kyler Murray here. I am concerned, Zoo, you made the point about Derrick Henry. You could argue the same thing for James Conner with Kyler Murray taking away those goal line touches. That's if Conner stays healthy, but they also drafted Trey Benson. So they do have a guy behind him, which could be a very interesting handcuff, and I'm sure we'll talk about that next week. But, I just think, to your point, Zoo, I think this comes down to the ADP positioning and how you're probably going to have a pretty comparable season between these two guys.
Yeah.
And you might as well save a two to 3 round difference between these guys and take, in where Lamar Jackson is going. I don't know who else you can probably get, but I would say, guys like Chris Godwin, probably even way better than that.
No, you get a starting like wide receiver too.
Yeah, you can get a low end wide receiver too, or a solid flex.
Yep, you're giving
instead of Lamar, and then holding off to drafting Kyler or a Dak Prescott potentially later. So yeah, I'm actually going to lean Kyler here as well. But they both have injury concerns. Lamar, let's not put that aside as well. He also has injury concerns, and they play very similarly. So we'll see. Kyler just has the better arm. That's really what it comes down to.
He is, man.
Yeah, he's a little bit better passer. I would say, now that we're just talking it through, like if you could get both of those guys, I would love that. Because I mean, it's like it's probably more than likely like one of those are going to hit.
Yeah, one of them's going to hit.
So it's like one of those hit, and then if you get very lucky and both of them hit, is like talk about trade ammo for that. Because now you're telling me like if Kyler really outperformed his ADP and then Lamar outperformed his ADP just a little bit, it's like you could probably get a nice little haul for one of those quarterbacks. So it's like if you could maybe figure out how to get both on your roster.
There's going to be some good trade pieces to get in this year's draft with all the handcuffs and injury concerns with the aging players.
And how the league is trending, just like with running quarterbacks. Like every year when we have the draft, like there's just more and more athletic quarterbacks that are coming into the draft. So it's going to get to a point maybe like 5 years from now that like every option you have from like quarterback 1 to 16 is going to be like guys who are super athletic. So it's just kind of like now it may not become as much of a luxury, I would say, because it's like, for instance, if Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels hit, those are two more rushing quarterbacks. Jaden Daniels a little bit more, so I feel like a little more athletic, but like those are two more rushing upside quarterbacks that is like you're going to have more options to like maybe wait for some of these quarterbacks to like draft them in later rounds. But Jaden Daniels is a guy that I'm very high on. Like
Jaden over Caleb Williams because they're going around the same area.
Just because of rushing, I think Jaden's going to run a lot, and I know he's slight, but I just think he's going to run a lot.
I'll take
Caleb, man. Give me the transcendent quarterback for free because he's going.
He has better weapons.
He got a lot better weapons. Like
that's the thing is like the Commanders didn't do anything for their weapons other than adding Austin Eckler. I mean, that's really all they did.
They could trade for Ayuk.
See, they're not going to trade
for Ayuk. They're going for the Super Bowl.
If I'm the Commanders, I'm giving up the farm for Ayuk. I don't know why. I mean, there's no other receiver that they could draft next year that would be like, oh yeah, no, I'm giving up the farm. Because then you're telling me like, I mean, we're sleeping on Scary Terry. Like him as a number 2. If they got Ayuk, like, then I would really be bullish on Jaden. But I just think Jaden's going to run more. I just think he's going to be more running around doing stuff like
Richardson.
Maybe like if he has a what's the Robert Griffin type rookie year, I wouldn't be mad at that. Like the one that's like the rookie type year.
Damn good if you can.
In terms of rushing, not like him being like the full complete player that Robert Griffin was, because that was just a crazy year. But I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, a lot of these guys, like I said, you may get lucky, and some of these guys fall, and you're putting yourself in a position where you got 2 quarterbacks, so you can use capital and do what you got to do in your fantasy league. But hope that was good enough for you guys out there watching and looking at our quarterback reviews. Like I said, next week we'll be, I think, getting on running backs. I think we'll be getting into. So we'll be getting into the running backs and some of those, which historically running backs has been a fantasy favorite for a lot of people. So make sure you tune in to Tyson Talks _ listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Look out for us on Quantrill Knows on YouTube. And for me, Zoo, and P-Bush, we are out.